All right, TSM fans, it's your time. I had Melina make this for you. You can go ahead and fly it whenever you're ready, Joe. This is the segment where we talk about TSM. There it is. TSM.
What even is that?
I just said. Melina, please make me a graphic.
Seat? Is that the hot seat? A seat that's on fire? Okay. All right. Well, nice.
Yeah, it does kind of look like the IWD run a little bit there. Everything is fine. TSM coming into their playoffs form here. They did drop that earlier game, but then rifled off 2 wins this week, and they've been pretty good. Is TSM our best squad going into playoffs, Dom?
Hell no. Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. They don't seem good to me. But no one does, right? Like, no one does. I mean, I would say that 100 Thieves overall, like 100 Thieves and EG still, to me, look like they've been the best teams if I were to just talk about over the course of the split. But TSM just seems like, to me, they're really boring because I don't see a world where this team has like a really high ceiling or like gets out of groups at Worlds or something if they make it. Like, it just feels like they're so boxed into the way that they're going to play that even when PoE like tries to pull out a Lee Sin for 2 weeks, it just looks so half-assed. It's like, oh, that's your Lee Sin? Nice, man. Like, you can't even like ward jump and you're playing the champion in LCS, and it's like, it's almost like a protest to go back to playing like the control mage. It's like, look, this is how we look with Lee Sin mid. We have to play the control mages. So I don't know, man. I'm just like, I don't know what to say. I don't have much confidence in Lost. I think PoE is super set in his ways. It doesn't seem like he has any like bone in his body that wants to adapt and like, you know, iterate on his gameplay and reach another level. It just seems like he's so fine just being like the Orianna, the whatever, like Orianna, whatever guy, Orianna, Azir, Victor, all that type of stuff. And it feels like that's just what we're going to see from TSM. And it'll probably be good enough to get top 3. I just don't think they'll win.
No, I was going to say, like, the thing about TSM is they're the only top team that so consistently gets away with murder. Like, there's so many games where they are dead to rights, or they are just going to like lose the game, but then the opponents, it's not like TSM's winning, the opponents are losing, right? Like, that's a saying that I feel like is getting used a lot more lately, but I really feel like it's very apt when you look at some of TSM's games. Now, obviously, that's a skill in itself, right? To have the fortitude to continue to play out the game,
right,
even when you're supposed to lose.
That is. They don't beat themselves.
But it's like, it feels like they're very fortunate that the top 5 is as weak and flimsy as it is right now. I don't feel like their record or their standing is created through their own prowess.
I was looking through the champions that Power Evil has played so far this split. He has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has played 10 champs. Not all of them to a great deal of success. 2 games on Lee Sin, averaging 1.5 kills. So not great. But his Orianna, a KDA of 9.75. His Victor, KDA of 8. He had a KD of 8 on Viego too, so I mean that's not too bad for Viego.
Yeah, like 2 games that he played at the beginning of the season or something.
That's correct. Exactly 2 games. El Domenico, You're so damn good, dude. But
I mean, I just know these stats because I get them thrown at me all the time in my chat, where they're like, "What? You're saying PoE can't play melees? He's got an 8 KDA on Viego." Like, nice, man. Gross. Champion has been nerfed since then. Like, I literally just get these stats on the daily on my stream.
I did want to point out a couple of things. Huni whipping out the Jace against Cloud9. What did we think of that? Because we've heard NA Jace time and time again. 3-0 on Jace, by the way, is Huni this split. And that doesn't include how much they've forced him to play, or how much maybe he's forced the Nocturne pick to give, again, just people something to think about.
He wouldn't let it go, man. He wouldn't let it go. Everyone else is like, okay, Nocturne is dead this patch. Huni was like, hell no. We're playing it every game. Like, we don't care. So, I mean, I respect it. I mean, his Jace, his laning looked better versus Fudge than it did versus Alfari, but it's also he was just playing Jace versus Viego, which is like a matchup where Jace can pretty much never lose. Like sometimes if the Viego's really good, I've seen it go kind of close in CS, but most of the time it's just like Jace just wins that lane. Viego in a solo lane is just not even that good anymore. I feel like it's pretty much like a jungle only champion at this point. So I don't know. I think that Huni's Jace is fine for NA standards. Like maybe he's one of the better Jace players in NA, but I just don't think that like it works with the way that TSM plays. And my problem with Huni is that he always seems to throw the game on Jace, which is just not acceptable later on. Like you can't be the guy that just dies like 2 times randomly in mid game when you're playing a champion like Jace. It just doesn't work out. So yeah, we'll have to see if he's able to like shore this up in some way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 3-0, and I think one of the more I guess reassuring things about this TSM squad that got the victory over Cloud9 and was that this came in spite of Spica just getting bodied in the jungle 1-5. Not really a great game for him. And you think about the kill deficit when they got themselves in the position for the Elder Dragon. And LS, this goes back to your point of TSM's fortitude of not losing until the other team loses to get the win. They won the game down kills, down gold, and what seemed to be what felt like a little bit out of position, a little bit, right?
But it doesn't tell the story of the whole game because they had a massive lead. They're up like 3K gold in the early game, and they could have just snowballed this game cleanly and just won. And they ended up throwing multiple times to the point where like Cloud9 just got outplayed. Like they outplayed Cloud9 at the end of the game. But there's so many ways where that just doesn't end like that. Like what happens if Fudge just TPs? PoE TPs, and then Fudge just walks back towards Elder Drag. What happens if that happens? Or then Perks TPs, and then they both just walk.
The game ends, yeah.
Like, that's not something that makes me feel confident in TSM's play. Like, they had the lead. They were snowballing that game. If they're a competent team, they would just win the game off the snowball. And yeah, obviously, if Cloud9 was a competent team, they probably would have, like, flashed one of the 8 Leona ultis mid and not die so many times. But it just makes me, like, not really happy with either team, which is like, I guess it goes into what Azale was saying about how people are so negative about these LCS games. But I just think that a lot of fans are holding LCS to like a higher level or a higher standard than I guess like LCS feels like it should be held to.
LCS fans, I'm wrapping my head around that. Maybe. I mean, LCS fans are holding to higher level than what LCS feels like it should. Maybe. Yeah, I think I've thought a lot about this.
I think it's like not the fans. I think it's like the casters and like the like. So LCS wants it to just be like, hey, like it doesn't matter the quality of play. Like forget the whole quality of play thing. We should just be based off like the entertainment value of the game. But I think that it's impossible to watch LCS and view it as like a league that's going to have to go to Worlds, and you know it's going to be in a tier 1 league. It's treated like that. It gets the same amount of world spots as EU, for example. It's hard to watch like these games and then be like, oh, it's not going to end in a train wreck again. Like it just looks, and it's like after so many years, you just expect a higher level of play. I think the reason why like LFL is so hype, like what we were discussing earlier in the show, is because LFL is in the context of a regional league. Like for a regional league, it's really good compared to like what you'd expect a regional league to be. Like LCS is supposed to be the same thing as LPL, LCK, and LEC. It's just supposed to be located in North America. And when you think about how many resources, how many players are coming through, all the contracts and everything, I just think that people expect more than what we're getting.
That is
I noticed
much more filled explanation.
I co-streamed a fourth division league with Nemesis a week ago, I think, right?
What's 4th division mean?
4th division is like university.
Okay, yeah.
So we got contacted and asked to co-stream a 4th division league. I had more fun watching the 4th division league because 1, I had no expectations of the players. 2, because I don't have expectations and I don't have like a standard, right, brought on by the level of the region, I don't feel as bad about blunders or mistakes, but also I felt like I was getting more excited about correct things that they were doing rather than being like, okay, well, it's expected that you should do this, right? Which is in like LCS or something, LEC, LCK. So it was in a weird way a lot more enjoyable to watch, but not. I mean, I didn't echo this. Nemesis had the same thing. That I think a lot of the problems with LCS is there's an expectation of the region that's brought on due to being that it is the it's like there's 4 brothers and then LCS is just like the one no one likes. You know what I mean? Like there's LEC, LCK, LPL, and then there's LCS.
It's the one with the drug problem that the parents are like damn, like you're still on that shit? Like
Oh
you
my
made it to
God.
Worlds though, right? Yeah, and you made it. You won Worlds, right? Yeah.
shows up to the family dinners. But, you know.
My dad got a tattoo with the 4 four of the son's names. There's 5. But, you know, I mean...
That's a goodie.
Thanks so much for stopping by. Make sure to see what else is happening on VENN by looking through our news and videos.